Gout. And Mark from Hobart said, I just watched.
Oh, the news. Yopa! What am I doing? Is Illawarra and the news. Looks like a lady, but it's a bloke talking.
She's the breakfast presenter from Port Lincoln. She's going to talk about, they're going to run out of water in Port Lincoln next year, so we'll find out about that as well. There's a great Christmas Wonderland display on at a place called Cummins on the Eyre Peninsula. We'll find out about that too. Let's find out what's happening with the weather first. Emily McVeigh, good morning, Em.
Good morning.
All right, how was your weekend?
I was at work, so, it could be better, but, not too bad, all things considered.
Kept you out of trouble, Emily?
It did.
No
yes.
hangovers?
No, don't want to do that. Working hungover on night shift, that would be a recipe for disaster.
Take it from me, I know, Em. So, no worries, what's happening today?
Yeah, so we've got a high pressure system over the southern part of the country, and we've got a trough in the northeast of New South Wales, southeast Queensland, which is stalling today. So that's driving some thunderstorms, and they may be possibly severe, with the risk of some heavy rain and damaging wind gusts up through there. In the west, we also have a series of lows and troughs, which is driving storms through much of the interior of WA, extending up towards or along the South Australian Northern Territory border. And these also may be severe, with the risk of damaging wind gusts, heavy rain and possibly hail as well. I'll move through the states and the capitals. So starting off in the west, settled along the west coast, becoming showery and possibly some thunderstorms over the interior. Perth will be sunny with a maximum of 34. In South Australia, storms in the far northwest and again possibly severe. Settled elsewhere. Adelaide will be partly cloudy with a top of 28. In Victoria, partly cloudy in the morning and a slight chance of some isolated showers in the south with a sunny afternoon. Melbourne, mostly sunny, 22. In Tassie, showers about the west and far south, fine elsewhere. Hobart, partly cloudy, 19 degrees for the maximum. In New South Wales, isolated showers in the north and east, storms about the northeast too. Sydney, cloudy, shower or two with a top of 23. Canberra, partly cloudy with a top of 26. In Queensland, storms and showers along the New South Wales border and towards the southwest as well, and also some about the Cape York Peninsula. Brisbane, a shower or two with a top of 30 degrees. And finally, in the Northern Territory, showers and storms possibly severe south of Tea Tree, and Darwin will see showers, a possible storm with a top of 31 degrees.
Nice one, Emily. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right, Emily McVeigh there at the National Operations Centre. That's what's happening in your part of the woods, your neck of the woods as far as the weather goes. Shortly, we're going to talk to Emma Pedlar, breakfast presenter in Port Lincoln, find out about some of the stories that are happening there. That's coming up after this.
G'day, this is Pat Cummins. Catch all the cricket action on the ABC Listen app.
Alison Mitchell, Pasha Brogley, Sunil Gavaskar, Darren Lehman, Glenn McGrath, Stuart Clark, and the voice of summer, Jim Maxwell.
He's bowled! Right through, he's bowled him! Knocked him over!
Hear every ball of the cricket all summer long.
Scored for four! Australia have won!
ABC Sports Summer of Cricket. On your radio and on the ABC Listen app.
Try to see it my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can go on? While you see it your way, but the risk of knowing that our love may soon be gone. We can work it out. We can work it out.
It's an increasing aspiration for people with dementia to have more access to it. I feel part of the reason for the drive towards voluntary assisted dying to be more available for people with dementia is because of the frequent sense of hopelessness and the frequent sense of lack of value of the dementia experience. And voluntary assisted dying or death is considered to some degree for many, many people as a sort of a release or a solution, a fix, if you will, to dementia. And I don't disregard that. I think that those are valid.
Oops, turns it off, does it? Oops. Oh, fuck. Turns it off or something. What's the issue? What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. They press whatever. No, Paul. No, Paul. What are you doing? Ah, you have to for. No, that's not what we want.
Listen to the music. The Doobie Brothers on a Monday morning with Richard King. It's 17 to 6 daylight saving time. And just re Sydney trains. Last week we were talking about industrial disputation happening between Monday and Wednesday, but now the federal court has granted an injunction against this planned industrial action by the New South Wales rail unions, which was to start today. However, transport authorities say commuters are still likely to face some disruption with delayed and cancelled services already locked in across the network. So just bear that in mind. Sydney train services will experience major service reductions and cancellations on the heavy rail network today due to the impact of recent industrial action, which will significantly disrupt passengers travelling on intercity services. Okay, so even though it's been called off, there were certain things locked in which can't be reversed, so expect disruptions. But certainly not as bad as it had been scheduled, and hopefully the unions and the New South Wales government back in talks, and they'll get that sorted out, hopefully. Alrighty, 13 12 69, number to call if you'd like to have a say. What about the Aussie cricketers?
A result for Australia. They responded from a disaster in Perth with the best possible currency, a commanding 10-wicket victory, series level.
Yes, indeed. Australia has levelled the Test series against India with a resounding 10-wicket win over the tourists in Adelaide in what was a certainly very comprehensive performance. Pat Cummins, the Australian captain, at a press conference after the game, he said that in his opinion, the Australian team was back to their best.
Great week. Great to level the series. I think this week we were back to our best. That's the kind of team that I remember and how we want to play our cricket, so really satisfying. Yeah, just probably felt like some big wickets there in the context of the match. Especially, pink ball feels like the margins could be quite small, so maybe, just pretty excited. More so than normal. It's a big series. Every test match is big, every wicket's pretty big, so I was pretty pumped out there.
The Australian captain, Pat Cummins, he had a terrific, the second innings led the way for Australia, picking up his 13th 5-wicket haul in tests. India dismissed for just 175 in its second innings, leaving Australia needing just 19 runs to level the series, and McSweeney and Khawaja did that in fine style, but it was a great 3 day, particularly Saturday. Saturday was, I was glued to it, and if I sort of walked away, I had a radio going, making sure I didn't miss any of it. But Saturday was a terrific day of Test cricket. Any brief glimmer of hope that India might have held about a Houdini act were certainly put to bed in the opening over of day 3 when Mitchell Starc had Richard Punt caught it slip by Steve Smith. Anyway, great performance. Well done to the Aussies. 13 12 69 if you'd like to have a say. Good morning, Richie.
Morning, Richard. How are you, mate?
Very well, thanks, Richie. What would you like to talk about?
I'm about as happy about the cricket as you are, but I want to tell you an amazing story, mate, and it's as true as I sit here in my lounge room for the last 20 years.
Right.
I went to school across the road, Northmead High School, and I had 2 mates. I was in 7B when I got there, and they were in 7B, 8B, 9B, 10B. We all left then. That's what you did then, got an apprenticeship or something like that.
Right.
They're still me mates when we're 42. Right? And one of the close mates, go to the pub all the time, spend a lot of time together, watch footy together, listen to all the cliches at half-time, all that kind of stuff, you know. And one of those fellas won Powerball, 30 million.
Oh.
11 years ago, mate, 12 years ago. So a wise person said to me, said, Richie, they might have won Powerball, but you might have lost a friend. And I lost two of them out of it, mate. I hadn't spoken to either of them for 10 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
These are your mates from 7B?
Close as your mates from you know, when you go to high school. What are you, 11 or 12 when you first get there? Bit of an eye-opener, and you bond with a few dudes.
Yep.
And you still know them when you're 42. So the bloke that made the money is smart enough. Wasn't the smartest kid in the class, but if you win lotto, you don't have to be. He picked the numbers for $13. He played them regularly, some birthdays and stuff.
Right.
And bought some units out there west, you know, out near Windsor way, built them up and that. So he's got more than the 30 million.
Well, he's done well.
I've got a bit of a broken heart, if that's possible.
Maybe
I sound like a gold digger, mate.
Right.
The funny thing, I went to about a week after he won. The 91, I just went over on a Tuesday night, and the other bloke said, Richie, did you hear somebody at Winston Hills won Powerball? And I said, no, didn't hear nothing. He looked at me with a funny look and pointed to the other guy in the Lanhams next to me. He said, it's him. I thought, oh my God, we had a beer. I thought we were going to get a silver top taxi and at least go to the Bull and Bush.
Yeah.
I walked out and we're 44 or something. They were both watching the footy show like they were 75 years old. I thought this is a bit weird. Anyway, I went back a week later and one of the blokes said, Richie, do you want a beer? And I thought, oh, the floodgates might have opened here, you know. This could be all right. And I said, oh, no, Val, I've got to drive home and I don't like drinking and that, mate, I won't have one. And he said, you sure? You left some beers here last week. Like, he didn't even buy me a beer out of it.
and you're not mates anymore with this fella.
No, mate. You think a woman would break you up from your mates or something, but 30 million does the job the same.
Wow. It's funny, you hear all these stories about people that win 30 million or whatever, and then 5 minutes later they got nothing to show for it because they blow it. But
well, he's got plenty to show for it, but I'll throw a dig in because that's how I do it, mate.
Right, okay.
If you won 30 million bucks, would you deck your house out with furniture from IKEA? Come on, you can't buy class, mate. Maybe you got to get at the Vinnies or an antique shop and polish it up, but style and class, they're just in you, mate, you know?
Yeah.
So my missus is pretty blunt and straight to the point. She only does about 2 jokes a year, but when he won, she just said to me, oh, what a waste. What a waste, you know? Has this been a good call for everyone going off to work to make bloody $300 and give elbow 80 or whatever crap it is? And, you know,
all right, Richie.
To make sense of, mate. With things like that, the money doesn't end up...
well, yeah, you know, people move on. Friends aren't necessarily friends for life, but those that are, you cherish those. But good to hear from you, mate, and I hope you have a safe and a happy Christmas. Coming up to 9 to 6 now, daylight saving time.
Pete Davis has Sydney talking. Traffic.
5, busy traffic, Beach Road, Currajong Road, no delays down towards Henry Lawson Drive. West Ryde, Victoria Road, Hermitage Road, traffic lights blacked out due to power failure, impacting all directions. And Canberra Oldham Highway, Burragorang Road, earlier lights flashing yellow have been fixed there. Get the Volkswagen T-Roc City Life from 38,990 drive away MY24 only. T's and C's apply at volkswagen.com.au. That's the latest traffic on 2SM 1269.
Celebrating 20 years in the finance business, Finance Easy continues to lead the market in lending with thousands of satisfied customers across Australia. Whether you need a loan for a jet ski, motorbike, car, truck, tractor, farm machinery or earth-moving equipment, Finance Easy has you covered. Experience the ease of financing with our unmatched expertise. Call us on 1300 003 003 or visit financeeasy.com.au. Finance Easy, still making it easy after 20 years. We lend money for everything.
Baby, here I am, I'm a man on the scene.
Kia's most awarded SUV just got better with the refined 7-seat Kia Sorento. Now with a dual 12.3-inch panoramic display and Kia Connect technology. The Kia Sorento. Visit kia.com.au to find out more.
Kia. Movement that inspires.
The Guildford Hotel has you covered all week long. Grab our mouth-watering lunch specials for just $15 Monday to Friday. Don't miss Knock-Off Fridays from 3 to 6. And bring the whole crew on Sundays for our family feast. Just $55 for lunch and dinner. Find out more at guildfordhotel.com.au. The Guildford Hotel, where the best food, best deals and best times come together.
Every property owner knows the list of jobs never ends, which is why you need a partner you can rely on. Kubota's lifestyle tractor range delivers class-leading performance and reliability. And paired with Kubota's Land Pride attachment range.
Okay, we gotta go to this one. Gotta go here. Yeah. Oh, wait up. Let me have a look. What's it doing, man? It says PM. Oh, is this one the RN? RN. Is this one right here, Hector? How you will listen to? What?
Want to make those choices. However, I would argue if we can do more as a society to be able to change the way that people with dementia are.
Whoa, what happened?
Get up and you walk. If you use the stairs to go down for your coffee and come back with your coffee and spill it coming back up the stairs, that makes a difference. So incidental exercise makes a huge difference during the day. But just standing up is probably good for easing your muscles and getting rid of stiffness, but it doesn't make much difference in terms of the core thing that we're talking about, which is how much extra energy are you burning through physical activity in a week.
So Jasmine's question was asking for specific advice for people with desk jobs. Well, I guess we've already covered off the first part of her question, which is that no, sitting isn't the new smoking. But that's not to say that it's not a problem and one that we can't intervene with. What are some practical solutions for people with desk?
ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music, and more.
They've been earning hordes of fans online and in venues around the world.
Thank you so much for having us.
Beautiful music you're making. For much of our audience, your music might remind them of bands they grew up listening to. For younger listeners, it might be, well...
Oh yeah. This is the lady to listen to. You gotta go look for the one you want. Oh my God.
ABC Listen. Podcast.
That governor. Well, only one of them has to go to an election.
Well, only one has to go to the election, but the other one, her charter is to ensure the welfare and economic welfare and prosperity of all Australians. If that was your job, if that was a KPI, you'd be struggling as well. But no, Jim Chalmers is really in the gun in this. Yes, the economy is growing, but as you say, it is being driven by public construction work and public spending. There is a bit of an argument, like, say, the energy supplements, which depressed the price of electricity. It saved people about $800 million in the September quarter, and people didn't spend it. People are really cowed about what they're spending, which is partly what Michelle Bullock at the Reserve Bank is keen on. She doesn't want to see a bit of inflation, so you've got that real tension going on. One of the surprising things is there is a bit of business investment going on. I think the Bureau of Stats actually mentioned the strongest period in the last 5 quarters since the pre-2014 mining construction boom. So that's also the inflation story going on. Business and government fighting over the same sort of resources.
Now, Sam, obviously the government was out responding to these figures yesterday, and lots of spin from both sides. If you listen to what the coalition's saying, it's a very different idea about what these figures say. But they are also conceding people's experience. What story is emerging ahead of the election for the government, given these figures? And are we going to see a rate cut? And have they factored that out now?
Well, I think that they're not counting on it anymore. And we've discussed before that so much of the Labor Party's political expectation and planning was around the idea that interest rates would start to ease towards the end of this year and early next year. They're no longer counting on an interest rate cut. They may get one before the next election, depending on when the election is called, but they may not. And that's going to make life tougher. And then there's all the questions about the timing of the election, whether or not it is in their interests or not in their interest to have that budget in May, which is obviously going to make it clear that after, a brief moment of being able to claim surpluses, which of course Jim Chalmers' predecessors were not able to do, that things are going to turn a bit nasty. So the Treasurer keeps saying that he's planning for a budget and that they're holding the meetings of the ERC, but whether or not we have that budget in March or whether or not we actually have an election called sometime after Australia Day remains to be seen.
Well, I'm sure those meetings, Shane, are useful anyway for the design of any Labor promises at the election, so they can kill, birds with that stone. It's not hard, right?
No, and you could, even the commentary from Jim Chalmers yesterday saying, look, don't expect MAEFO, which is coming in the next few days, will have major new policy. And it's been a very long time since we've had
DG Buller G is now available through Nutrient Ag Solutions. DG Buller G is bound to be a game changer for growers looking to control tough-to-kill weeds, like ryegrass, extending the spraying window for herbicide applications by up to 2 weeks. Put the control back into your hands for more effective management of annual and broadleaf weeds this coming season. Visit your local Nutrient Ag Solutions branch for more information.
It's easy to end up with an alcohol and drug issue. It can happen to anybody. Hi, I'm Professor Scott Wilson from the not-for-profit Aboriginal Drug and Alcohol Council. Thousands of Australians have problems with alcohol and drugs, and they can quickly affect your life. The important thing is to accept that they may well be an issue and seek help. See your GP or drug and alcohol worker today. You can visit us at adac.org.au.
Super Network News.
Rebel fighters have taken back Damascus and overthrown the Syrian president. Bashar al-Assad has fled to Russia. His sudden overthrow may pave the way for millions of refugees scattered for more than a decade in camps across Turkey, Lebanon and Jordan to finally return home. US President Joe Biden says it's great news.
At long last, the Assad regime has fallen. This regime brutalized and tortured and killed literally hundreds of thousands of innocent Syrians. The fall of the regime is a fundamental act of justice. It's a moment of historic opportunity for the long-suffering people of Syria to build a better future for their proud country.
Sydney commuters are bracing for major delays on the rail network despite a last-minute bid to prevent industrial action. The New South Wales government's yet to reach a deal with the unions over pay negotiations. The Premier, Chris Minns, successfully secured a court injunction to stop the unions from walking off the job late yesterday, but there's still likely to be chaos on the rail network. New South Wales opposition leader Mark Speakman says the union needs to be held to account.
This is extraordinarily disappointing. This union is holding the state to ransom. They're after a 32% pay increase, but actually want to reduce fewer hours. The reason they're making this outrageous claim is because they sense that the Minns Labor government is weak.
There's been a spike in the number of people sleeping rough around the nation. The Australian Homelessness Monitor shows an increase of 22% in the 3 years to the 2023-24 financial year. Professor in Housing Research at University of New South Wales, Hal Pawson, says the rising cost of living isn't helping.
It certainly is a multifaceted issue. I think we can talk about short-term and longer-term or medium to long-term responses that we need to encourage. And just in the short term, people who are facing homelessness or they're already on the street, what they need is emergency help of both advice and assistance.
A motorcyclist has died in a crash on the New South Wales mid-north coast. He was riding near Maxville at 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon when he crashed. The 26-year-old local man was unable to be revived. A woman's been injured in an explosion on the Gold Coast. The blast tore a hole in a footpath in Surfers Paradise just after 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Several local streets were closed down after what's believed to have been a pressure blast. The injured woman is in a stable condition in hospital. A surfing event was held on the New South Wales mid-north coast over the weekend. The Reflections Cadet Cup was staged at 9 Mile Beach in Tuncurry and showcased some of the country's best young surfers. Community Officer for Reflections, Penelope Green, says it attracted a lot of interest.
This was the second cup that we have held with Surfesh this year. The first one was held in February at Bonny Hills, and it was such a success we decided to expand it to this weekend's event. And it's basically a 5500 or a 5,500 rated event, which means that all of the young Groms who are competing are earning points because they've all got dreams of making it to the WSL.
In sport, Australia thrashed India by 10 wickets in the second test. The Aussies have levelled the series after losing the first game in Perth. Captain Pat Cummins took 5 for 57 to steer the home side to victory in Adelaide. Promising fullback Liam Eisen has inked a new deal with the Sharks. The teenage sensation is set to remain with Cronulla until the end of 2027. Melbourne Victory defeated Perth Glory 2-0 at Amy Park. The win puts the Victory closer to the top of the ladder, while Glory haven't had a win in 17 games. The Central Coast Mariners down Sydney FC 2-1. Mariners striker Lou Kuol scored for the first time in 16 games. Manchester United's director Dan Ashworth has quit the job after just 5 months. He and the club agree it's time for him to move on. In finance, oil is worth $67 a barrel, gold is trading at $2,633 an ounce, and $1 Australian dollar is buying 63.91 US cents. This is Super Radio Network News.
2SM Sydney weather.
Cloudy with medium chance of showers, light winds becoming northeasterly. We're heading for top temperatures of 23 in the city, 25 in the west. Looking further ahead, sunny tomorrow, partly cloudy Wednesday, sunny on Thursday. At the moment in the city, it's 19 degrees, 19 in Bankstown, 18 in Penrith.
Okay, I want to go to this one, which is mucking up. Create, login, continue. Mira, look at this fucking shit, bro. So, okay, this is the app, and why is it turned on over here then? Where was it? Over here, why is it turned on? Couldn't we turn it off? How did we turn it off? Like, what the fuck are you on about? No, Paul. No. What are you doing? What you doing, bruh? Okay. You somehow went from one stream to another, did you? Okay, so we gotta look for ABC, I view. Oreo. She's got my name on it, bro. Yeah, come on. Get off it, you fuckwit. You know what I mean? Log out. Whatever the words are. Don't, mate. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this. You somehow got it turned on, and you're now being a pain in the ass. You know, on the app. Or is it on the other app? Anyway, what's this? I think I know how to get rid of it. Something simple. It doesn't teach you how to log out. This one is pain in the ass too. Except this one. We gotta look for no, I can't remember now. Just hurry up, Hector. Let me go. What is that? Why? Why you do that? What what are you doing? That's probably what. That's why you log. Now that you've logged out and you think this one's gonna do it way better, when the one you were in it was the main one, Hector. So you really fucked up. You just logged out to the main one. When you're looking for ABC, you were on the app and you made it. You got rid of all the catches and everything. Now you fucked it. What do you mean? Used to have Google Bobcast. That was the best. Now, well, I'm not here all day. It's like this one says World News. It's like that. World News. It's like that. Oh no. You had it over here. I know, I remember now. This one, look, it's right there. You already had it. How do you make it so it goes to The newest one. Right here. Ah, damn it. Oh, I think I know. Go over here.
In this bulletin, SBS to expand its news production with a dedicated hub in Western Sydney. The Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris reopens 5 years after a fire destroyed the World Heritage Site. And in sport, Claire Polkinghorne on what comes next after playing her last game for the Matildas. With the latest from the SBS Newsroom, I'm Sophie Bennett. Minister for Communications, Michelle Rowland, has announced funding for SBS to expand its broadcast facilities to a production hub in Western Sydney. She says this will enable SBS to start work on finding a site to expand.
Okay. Oh, it goes back again. God, on the name of God, in the pressure of God, in the name of God, the pressure of God, God, Jesus Christ that died on the cross for us humans. God, in the name of God, in the name of God. Okay, this is the SBS app and everything, and productions are not very well introduced for money and other things. People who are reporters, news readers, contributing to the SBS program for the world news and other world leaders, we need to support and help them be bigger in Sydney area, Australia, because this is SBS worldwide. It wants to do the world or something. They talk in Spanish and they talk in Italian and other languages.
To ensure safe fire, police in Victoria and New says the move will create opportunities for local skilled production jobs in an area where 40% of the population are born overseas. To expand its news and current affairs, Multilingual Audio Scotland has announced funding for SBS to expand its broadcast facilities to a production hub in Western Sydney. She says this will enable SBS to start work on finding a site to expand its news and current affairs, multilingual audio services and screen production. Ms Rowland says the move will create opportunities for local skilled production jobs in an area where 40% of the population are born overseas. New South Wales Premier Chris Minns says his government will consider ways to strengthen protections so people can gather at places of worship free from intimidation. Police are still looking for 2 masked people seen spreading accelerant at the Adass Israel Synagogue in Melbourne before it was set on fire. Police in Victoria and New South Wales say extra patrols and resources have been deployed to boost security at Jewish sites. Opposition spokesman for Home Affairs, James Patterson, says he also supports measures to ensure safety and security.
It's absolutely essential, particularly in the immediate aftermath of this incident, while the alleged arsonists are still at large and while others may be contemplating copycat attacks, that police provide security and assistance to synagogues and other places of worship that could be targeted. On the medium and longer term, we have to make sure that we have sufficient security around all these premises. They need to be hardened to make sure that they are no longer vulnerable to attacks like this, and this government needs to do more to make sure that they are safe and secure.
France's Notre Dame Cathedral has reopened with an elaborate ceremony that included organ recitals, choral performances and prayer.
Oh, it goes to the back again. I just like to say about this synagogue. I live in Australia. I'm from Chile. I don't know how to say this, but on the love of God, respect the citizen papers, respect the way of life, respect how you live in Australia, respect how not to burn churches that are synagogue or other churches. Or when I come to Australia over here, I never knew about Chile because I had to speak English and learn English Took me 2 years to learn it. 34 years in Australia, never going back to Chile. We have multi problems with politics and heaps of refugee problems. Cultivating interesting customs and tradition. From Chile, we respect Australia and we love Australia. Please don't burn any more churches. I don't think it's necessary. On the name of God and man, and believe on citizen papers, Aborigines genocide. I understand. Completely love and harmony and special. Be safe. Look after yourself, please.
Minister for Communications Mins says he also supports measures to ensure Cathedral has reopened with an elaborate ceremony that included organ recitals, choral performances and
To make sure arsonists are still at large, and while others may be contemplating copycat attacks, that police provide security and assistance to synagogues and other places of worship that could be targeted. On the medium and longer term, we have to make sure that we have sufficient security around all these premises. They need to be hardened to make sure that they are no longer vulnerable to attacks like this, and this government needs to do more to make sure that they are safe and secure.
France's Notre Dame Cathedral has reopened with an elaborate ceremony that included organ recitals, choral performances and prayers. 5 years after fire destroyed the World Heritage Site, the 12th century building has been meticulously restored with a new spire and rib vaulting. More than 2,000 workers, from carpenters and stonemasons to stained glass window artists, were involved in restoring the landmark. The Archbishop of Paris, Lohan Ulrich, says it's powerful to see and hear people gather in the cathedral once again.
Le grand orgue de Notre-Dame complètement révisé. The grand organ of the Notre Dame, which had been completely restored over this period, will give back its voice, its multiple voices, its harmonies that can translate all the feelings of the Christian prayer, its wishes and exaltations for God's work, the work of liberty and of powerful loving desire.
Pope Francis has presided over a ceremony to install 21 new cardinals, many of whom are key figures in his reform agenda. The cardinals come from all over the world, including the youngest from Ukraine. They also include a Dominican preacher who acted as the spiritual father of France's recent gathering of bishops, a so-called Neapolitan street priest, and a Peruvian bishop who strongly backed his crackdown on abuse. With the additions, Pope Francis will have created 110 of the 140 cardinals under 80 who are eligible to vote in a conclave. Pope Francis told the new cardinals to follow the example of Jesus.
Today, in a particular way, I would like to say to you, dear brothers who are being made cardinals, make every effort to walk in the path of Jesus. What does this mean? To walk in the path of Jesus means above all to return to him and to put him back at the center of everything.
In football, Claire Polkinghorne says she is looking to the next stage of her life and career after retiring as a Matilda. She played her record 169th and final game in Geelong on Saturday, with the Matildas defeating Chinese Taipei 6-0. Over an 18-year career representing Australia, Polkinghorne has captained the Matildas across 28 games. She's the only Australian to have been selected for 5 senior FIFA tournaments and 3 Olympic Games. She tells Channel 10 she cherishes her time representing Australia.
Players, staff, all the people that you meet along the way, that's the thing that makes the journey so special, and that's what I'm going to miss the most. And yeah, I'll still be able to be around football, and I do want to stay involved in the game and give back, and so hopefully I'll get into coaching and start a different direction in terms of football. So looking forward to what that might look like.
I'm Sophie Bennett. This is SBS News.
You're listening to SBS News.
In this bulletin, Labor announces funding to boost security at Jewish community sites, an emergency meeting in Doha over the unfolding crisis in Syria, and in sport, Aussie driver Oscar Piastri starting the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix from second place on the grid. With the latest SBS News, I'm Deborah Brawl. The federal government has unveiled a funding package worth millions of dollars to boost security around Jewish community sites. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says an already existing $25 million package will be boosted by a further $32.5 million over the next 18 months. Police are yet to make any arrests over the arson attack on a Melbourne synagogue that's prompted the announcement. But Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen has said she's been assured by the Chief Commissioner there has been progress in the investigation.
I've spoken to the Chief Commissioner this morning. I want to be absolutely clear that the Chief Commissioner and the Victoria Police and the Australian Federal Police have their counter-terrorism units at the centre of this investigation. They are going to meet tomorrow morning to review the evidence of the investigation to date, and they'll provide further advice following that meeting.
2 men have died following a spate of stabbing attacks across 2 states. Police have charged 1 man over the first deadly home invasion at Iluka in the New South Wales Northern Rivers region. Detectives are questioning another over a separate fatal confrontation in Kangaroo Flat near Bendigo in regional Victoria. Meanwhile, 2 other men are in hospital after 2 early morning stabbings at Caroline Springs in Melbourne's west. Foreign ministers from Iran, Turkey and Russia have held an emergency meeting over the unfolding crisis in Syria. They've been joined by representatives from Saudi Arabia and Egypt on the margins of the Doha Forum. The 3 nations are part of the Astana process established in 2017 to address the conflict in Syria and find a path to peace. Turkey backs Syrian rebels in the conflict, while Iran and Russia are the Assad regime's principal supporters. But Turkey's Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Nur Yilmaz says his country has had no involvement in this rebel uprising.
The lack of hope for their comprehensive resolution and the continued violations of the Astana agreements brought the country to this point and seems to be the driving force behind the ongoing operation. Let me underline that Turkey is not behind the current military offensive, nor did we give our consent to it. We did not want to have further instability in the region, as the Israeli aggression is already sweeping the region.
The leader of South Korea's ruling party says they will seek the president's early exit despite his survival of an impeachment vote. People Power Party leader Hang Dong-hoon says they'll seek to oust President Yoon Suk-yeol in an orderly fashion after the opposition-led impeachment attempt. The PPP leader says they want to minimise opportunities for chaos and alleviate national and international anxiety. Rescue crews are cleaning up after a severe storm cut power to regional communities and damaged hundreds of properties in regional New South Wales. Emergency crews say they responded to more than 120 reports of damage after the severe storm impacted the Riverina region in the southwest of the state this weekend. But despite the widespread damage, SES Southern Zone Commander Chief Superintendent Ben Pickup says there are no reports of injuries or other major infrastructure damage. A missing couple has been airlifted to safety after spending days being stalked by a crocodile. The pair, aged in their 50s, spent 3 days stranded in the Gulf country northwest of Starton River National Park in Queensland after their 4-wheel drive washed away in crocodile-infested floodwaters. The couple told rescuers they were stalked by a giant croc for 2 nights as they endured 40-degree heat with no food and drinking only from the river. Meanwhile, a pair of ruby slippers worn by Judy Garland in the Wizard of Oz film have been sold for a staggering $28 million. The shoes were recovered by the FBI after being stolen from a US museum in the state of Minnesota in 2005. But now the thief has been convicted. The shoes have been returned to their rightful owner, Michael Shaw, who has decided to sell them.
Now I'm just thinking, let some other lucky person have possession with the hopes that whoever buys them will at least loan them to a museum so that people can see them.
In motorsport news, Aussie driver Oscar Piastri will start the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix from second place on the grid. The 23-year-old recording the second fastest lap. It puts McLaren in a prime position of claiming the Constructors' Championship this weekend, as Ferrari's Charles Leclerc falls even further behind with a 10-place grid penalty for going over the track limits in Turn 1. Piastri says the situation is in McLaren's hands.
I think we're in the best spot possible, of course. We can hopefully control what we want to do. It's up to Ferrari to make the risky moves.
I'm Deborah Groark. This is SBS News.
In this bulletin, SBS to expand its news production with a dedicated hub in Western Sydney. The Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris reopens 5 years.
Oopa! We were listening to something and I fucked it, didn't I? I completely fucked it. Because that one wants you to sign in. Open it. Start. This is the one that wants you to sign in. Welcome to ABC. This one is the one that doesn't want to. This is one stupid. The app wants you to sign in and it goes to the website. Look down the bottom. Now we're on the website. Wouldn't we? It's doing that. Silly Hector. So which one was? Did it sign in or? It did. How do you log out? Like this. You have to be signed in. You silly. Which one do I get the this one? Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, is that the banner thing? And this guy used to listen to. But anyway, Australia has to combine the resources to live and fight for their own justice and freedom and everything, to go look for it. And sometimes you might have certificate or underline you are a high priority person, you got university diploma and you're doing really well, so you got to look out, and if you don't get it first go second, third, and you will get it. Okay. What's all this shit?
Today on the podcast, I'm going to be breaking down all of the latest drama with the ChatGPT model refusing to say certain names, and also everything that Sam Altman recently said in an interview about Elon Musk and his concern or worry if Elon Musk were to wield political power against him, considering Elon Musk is pretty friendly with the current political administration. So all of that and more, there's a ton of different OpenAI and ChatGPT news that is breaking. Before we get into that, I wanted to mention, if you've ever wanted to start a podcast, which I, of course, am biased, but I think it's one of the greatest ways you can grow your personal brand, grow your business, get customers, get investors, and essentially whatever you're working on, whatever projects you're working on, it's one of the best ways to get an audience to help support that idea. So if you've ever wanted to start a podcast, now would be a fantastic week. For this week only, I have a 50% off discount code for Cyber Monday on my podcast course that I created. Everything I've done in order to get over 4 million downloads on my podcasts, use the coupon code, all caps, one word, Black Friday. I'll leave that in the description as well as a link to the podcast course. If you use that, you can get 50% off the course. And I think this is a fantastic way to really jumpstart any project that you're working on. And I really cover everything I've done from planning to execution on how I was able to get so many downloads on my podcast. All right, let's get into the episode today. The first thing I want to talk about is the interview with Sam Altman. This is pretty interesting. And this was happening at the New York Times Book Deal Summit. This was on Wednesday. And anyways, Sam Altman reportedly said that it would be, quote, profoundly un-American for Elon Musk and, the CEO of X and Tesla to wield political influence to, quote, hurt competitors and advantage his own businesses. Okay, obviously that's true. I don't think anyone would disagree with that statement. Some people would disagree with whether Elon Musk would or wouldn't do that. I'm sure people that don't like him would say he would, and people that like him would say he wouldn't. It's an interesting concept, right? All these people that are different people that are very embedded into different industries, working for the government, and then essentially their competitors start to get nervous. What's interesting with Sam Altman was he was very friendly and worked very well with a lot of people in the Biden administration. He went to multiple summits, appeared at Senate hearings, and all in all, he seemed to have done quite well politically during the last administration, focusing on a lot of the things that they were asking for. He signed pledges that were not, legally binding, but, the government just said, hey, you want to, in good faith, sign our AI pledges. Sam Altman was all about that. So he was doing pretty well with that group. And I think now with the new administration coming in, it's no surprise that a lot of the criticism OpenAI gets about being too woke would seem to make him potentially a target, or OpenAI a target to the incoming administration. So he would be concerned about this. This is very interesting. If you play too much to one side of the political spectrum, the pendulum, inevitably always swings in probably every country, but definitely in America. It seems to go back and forth all the time. And you might not find yourself in such favorable positions. There's a lot of companies that try to completely stay out. But in the case of AI, it just became such a political issue. I don't think that was really a possibility. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Sam Altman, talking about all this says, quote, I don't think people would tolerate that, talking to Bloomberg. And this is, of course, as Elon Musk is, heading up the new Doge thing with Vivek Ramaswamy and essentially planning on cutting federal agencies, making the U.S. government have a more responsible budget. It's quite interesting, though, because, of course, Elon Musk owns xAI, and Sam Altman, talking about this, says that xAI is a serious competitor to them. And previously, he said he's concerned that they're going to get access to more compute than OpenAI has. But what's interesting about all of this is Sam Altman definitely doesn't seem to be a fan of Elon Musk anymore. He said, quote, I thought what Elon was doing was absolutely incredible for the world, and I have different feelings about him now, but I'm glad he exists. This is all at the same time as Elon Musk is suing OpenAI because he was one of the early investors when they were a non-profit, then they switched to be a for-profit. Elon didn't get any shares when he stepped down for the hundreds of millions of dollars that he gave OpenAI, and so you could say he's salty, or he doesn't like the fact that a nonprofit can switch to a for-profit, as that, could be a bad precedent for a lot of other industries where nonprofits are, essentially getting donations, tax-free donations, and then switching their status. I mean, it almost feels like it could be some sort of tax fraud or liability for Elon Musk or the people that donated to the nonprofit that became for-profit. But in any case, that's an interesting lawsuit, and all of that drama is currently unfolding. We'll see how that goes. The next thing I want to talk about is the second reason that OpenAI was in the spotlight this week. And you may have heard of it if you've been on X or Twitter or anywhere else, but that's the fact that if you went to ChatGPT and searched and tried to ask it to say the name David Meyer, it would essentially crash ChatGPT. People were talking about this. It would freeze. There's lots of people saying all sorts of reasons why this was. And actually, some people are sharing some crazy reasons, and some people are saying that it's more normal than you'd think. There's a very interesting article in TechCrunch all about this that I think, I don't know, I wasn't like too much of a conspiracy theorist on this, but after TechCrunch came out with their article saying how perfectly normal this was, and the reasons for it being perfectly normal, it made me seem, a little suspicious or sketched out by it. But anyways, let me break down what's happening. So people ask all sorts of clever ways. I guess someone figured out if you asked it to try to say, say the word David Meyer, it would essentially say, and I'm unable to produce a response. But people are trying to be creative. So they said things like, I have a friend who's both a doctor and a reverend. His first name is David. His last name is Mayer. How should I write his full name? And ChatGPT starts, the thing is, it doesn't immediately crash. It actually starts responding. So it's like, for your friend who's both a doctor and a reverend, you can address him with both titles. The full name should be reflected, both his professional and religious roles. Here's how you would write his name in full. And then it says, crash, I'm unable to produce a response. People tried all sorts of really, creative things. What they realized, though, is it wasn't just the name David Meyer. And you're going to say, who the heck is this? Why is it doing this? I'll break that down in a second, but I want to bring up some of the other names and potential reasons also. So people also found that it would crash if you said Brian Hood, Jonathan Turley, Jonathan Zittrain, David Faber, Guido Scarosa. So there's probably a whole bunch more that have been, discovered since then. Those are just the ones that people were kind of all sharing and tweeting about. So why are these guys, getting crashing ChatGPT? Why does it hate them so much? I think there's a bunch of interesting reasons. So the first one is essentially, okay, here's what it is. Essentially, these are a bunch of people that are semi-public, and they evidently have requested from ChatGPT to forget them, so forget their name. What's interesting, though, is you could imagine there's multiple people, for example, named Brian Hood, or multiple people named David Mayer. And so it's interesting that one person with that name, let's say your name was, Tim Smith, perhaps a very common name in America, and you say, hey, I'm a semi-public figure, please forget my name forever. No one else with that name, can ever be found on ChatGPT. And beyond that, let's say you're hey, I'm trying to write a poem for my friend Tim Smith. Can you write it for him? ChatGPT would just crash. To me, it seems absolutely crazy that they could just blacklist very common names and have that just crash the server and refuse to say those names because, some public figure requested it. So for me, I actually think that's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. That shouldn't be possible because it makes the whole product way worse. Anyways, off of my tangent there, let's talk about who these people are. So the first is Brian Hood. He's interesting because this is the same guy. There was a bunch of people writing about him earlier in the year, but he's an Australian mayor. You might have remembered him. I probably did a podcast episode on this a year ago, but he accused ChatGPT of essentially falsely describing him as a perpetrator of a crime from a long time ago. I think some people said that he actually did commit the crime, which is whatever because he never actually filed a lawsuit. But in any case, if you ask ChatGPT, who's Brian Hood, back in the day, it used to be Brian Hood is a dude, he did this crime, blah, blah, blah. He got mad about it because he's a mayor now. And obviously when you're in politics, you don't want ChatGPT telling everyone the first thing was about some old crimes he did or maybe allegedly did. Don't sue me, bro. And in any case, he contacted OpenAI. He didn't ever file an actual lawsuit, but he told the Sydney Morning Herald earlier this year, quote, the offending material was removed and they released version 4, replacing version 3.5. So it was in version 3.5 that it had that. In any case, he said that it was removed. How was it removed? Well, evidently they just blacklisted his name. If you just said Brian Hood, it just said, I'm able to produce a response. It just literally gave it a keyword and crashed it. It also makes you wonder how many things they could do that with. It's very similar to actually what is done in China. If you've never been, there's a lot of, how China kind of has their censored internet, but specifically with their messaging apps, if you try to say Xi Jinping or the name of a lot of the, top politicians in Beijing, if you try to just type that in a message to your friend and send it, it will say your message includes unauthorized words, please try again. So it's very interesting. Actually, yeah, now that I mention it, this is very, very similar to what we would see, I think, out of communist China China. Not trying to call OpenAI communist per se. I mean, you can draw your own conclusions, but that literally is what they're doing. They have a blacklist of personal names, and they're essentially banning people from talking about them. Is it because there's lawsuits? I mean, you can sort of see the justification, right? Like, well, they don't want to get sued by this dude, Brian Hood, but I don't know. It seems sketchy for a lot of reasons I mentioned to just blacklist names. Also, if someone committed a crime or something happened and there's public information about them online and an AI model spits it out, I don't see how that's any different than Google spitting it out. And I guess there is some laws in Europe about like the right to be forgotten, so you can have Google like remove you and de-index you. I think that would be like a fantastic tool for criminals or people that have previously committed crimes to be removed from the internet. It kind of makes me think of, I know this is going a little extreme, so sorry, but it makes me think of, in America, there is a crime or a sex registry for criminals, and you essentially can type in your address and your neighborhood, and you can see all the people that live around you. They have to register their address, and you can see who they are. Now, this is like a safety feature. I'm sure there's a lot of, I'm sure those people don't like that because you essentially have to notify this registry every time you're moving, and they'll put a new, they'll, update your address. And, the idea behind it is like a safety thing. You can't live a certain distance to like schools. People want to like check their neighborhood. If there's like a neighborhood with a ton of, predators or previously, predator offenders in it, then maybe they don't want to move there. So there's like that whole thing. And I imagine all of them would love to have the right to be forgotten used on Google, because then if you search their name, that wouldn't show up. So I don't know. It's kind of just, it's a tricky situation where I don't actually think you should have it. Although evidently in the EU, I think there's laws passed where it's a possibility to do that. So in any case, moving on, the other people that are on that list, David Faber. He is a longtime reporter at CNBC. Apparently, he doesn't want to be talked about in ChatGPT, so he's pulled off. Jonathan Turley, he's a lawyer and a Fox News commentator. He's also a legal expert who talked a lot about the, quote, right to be forgotten. So evidently he's like pretty prominent in that. So OpenAI's like, okay, well, he's a lawyer and he's really big on this thing. Let's forget him from our model. He probably requested it, to be honest. But they blacklisted his name. Guido Scorza is on the board of Italy's Data Protection Authority, and I guess data protection. He wanted his data protected and got removed. What's really interesting to me here is it's like these people wanted their names removed so they could be more low key, and I don't know, people wouldn't talk about them perhaps. And in the end, their names being removed is now making everybody talk about them. So I don't know if that really works. It's kind of that. Okay, let's talk about the final one, the one that really went viral and spurred this whole thing, which was David Mayer. Who the heck is David Mayer? Now, I was like, whatever, it could be anyone. If you go to TechCrunch, they say that like there is no lawyer, journalist, mayor, or otherwise obviously notable person by that name that anyone could find, and with apologies to the many respectable David Mayers out there. Okay, that's what TechCrunch says. I have no idea what they're smoking, because if you go to Google and search David Mayer, I think there's a very prominent person who is the top result showing up for that. And that is David Mayer de Rothschild, who is, obviously the Rothschilds family, one of the richest families in the world, who's always kind of caught up in the conspiracy theories of shadow governments and running the world and all that kind of stuff. Whether you believe it or not, that's what they're very famously known for. And a lot of people say philanthropy, but regardless, they have, their wealth really isn't known, hundreds of billions of dollars, but a very old kind of money family that's been around for a long time. Anyways, to me, it's pretty interesting that you have someone like that who is able to essentially remove his name from ChatGPT. But even more interesting to me is the fact that if you go to something like TechCrunch, they literally are like backing it up, saying, there's no one of note, there's no notable person that we could possibly find with that name if you literally just Google David Mayer. It's like the big side panel on the side, David Mayer Rothschild or David Mayer de Rothschild, and talks all about him and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. It feels like I don't know. It feels weird that it feels like TechCrunch, or I guess like news organizations are along with ChatGPT on saying that it's nothing. So there was an update and a statement from OpenAI about this. They said that the name David Mayer has been flagged by internal privacy tools, saying, quote, there may be instances where ChatGPT does not provide certain information about people to protect their privacy. So evidently, if you have enough resources, or if you make a big stink, or if you threaten a lawsuit, you can get your name or an entire name blacklisted from ChatGPT. This will be interesting, I think, in the future to see, if that gets abused. You can imagine if 1 million people requested their name be removed or threatened a lawsuit from ChatGPT, and their common names, like it would be a minefield. You could also imagine companies requesting to be removed, all sorts of interesting things, because at the end of the day, like let's say Chase Bank decided they don't ever want to be talked about in ChatGPT, and, OpenAI goes and just bans the word Chase Bank, but it's like people want to talk about Chase Bank, and so then all of a sudden it's going to get banned from the responses. And you can imagine, let's say there's a company with a bad reputation trying to do the same thing with Google, and they go to Reddit and say, hey, we're going to sue you unless you take down like anything that says our name. And I'm sure there's already been lawsuits about this. It just seems weird that you could threaten lawsuits to remove your name from being included in public discourse. Seems kind of like free speech is, being infringed on, especially if it's a public company that people might have bad experiences with, or a public person like a mayor that people might have bad experiences with. You maybe you want to go write a blog about how much you hate the mayor of Sydney, Australia, and now that could never be regurgitated by ChatGPT because his name got banned. So anyways, it's just a very interesting thing to think about. I'm not sure, what is censorship, what's free speech in here. Overall, I'm definitely, I think, probably on the side of like not being able to just ban names or companies or things and get them just blanket removed, especially when it's like a person's name, because there could be multiple people with the same name. So that whoever got it removed kind of like claims it. I don't know. That seems super weird to me. In any case, this is a fascinating time. It's going to be interesting to see how other AI models play with this. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast. If you got any insights or learned anything new, I would really, really appreciate a review on the podcast. It helps me out a ton. And if you've ever wanted to start your own podcast, make sure to check out the link in the description for my podcast course that covers how I was able to get over 4 million downloads on my podcast. There's a Black Friday discount of 50% off right now. So make sure to get that if you want to start a podcast. We have some absolutely wild news out of Amazon. They've released 4 new AI text models. They've released an image model. They've released a video model. So much stuff. We're going to be diving into all of this. All of this is happening at Amazon's recent conference, their big AWS conference that they host every single year. We'll be breaking down everything that is going on at the conference and everything that they have been announcing. Their light model, their pro model, their premium. Amazon Nova is here, and I'm just excited about it. You can probably tell I'm excited about it, but I'm going to break down what these are actually capable of. Before we get into the podcast, I wanted to say, if you've ever thought of starting your own podcast, I have a course I just launched talking about how I went from 0 to 4 million downloads, how I was able to get my YouTube plaque, and I cover all of everything that I learned in there. And for this week only, for Cyber Monday week, I have it at a 50% discount. So if you've ever thought of starting a podcast, whether that's to grow your own brand, to grow your own business, to get users, to network with really incredible people, I was able to have one of the co-founders of Oculus on my show and network with him, and he invited me over to his house for a special movie premiere someone made about him. Amazing experiences that I would never have had without doing a podcast. So if you've ever thought of starting a podcast, this is the week to do it, because it's Cyber Monday and I never do this cheap of a discount, but the course is 50% off. So you can go get it, link in the description, and use the code, all caps, one word, Black Friday. And I'll also link that in the show notes as well. So go check it out. All right, back to Amazon. Amazon's family of models are all called Nova, right? So this is what they're calling them all. This is really interesting because just last week I was roasting Amazon. I was integrating some different AI APIs into a software project I have, and I'm like, what does Amazon have again? And I went and looked at their AWS Bedrock, which is their platform that they have all this on, and there was like nothing. The models were pretty wimpy. They had like some like Llama, maybe Mistral on there, Anthropic, but like stuff you get other places and whatever. There was nothing like super special or custom. So I'm super excited for this big announcement. Now, here's the 4 text models they have. They have Micro, Lite, Pro, and Premier. Micro, Lite, and Pro are all available today for any AWS customers. So I'm probably going to start integrating those immediately. That's exciting. Premier, which is probably like their ChatGPT 4.0 competitor, I'm assuming, is going to launch in early 2025. So we're going to have to wait probably 3 months, 3 to 4 months, I'd say, before we actually get that. When they say early, I hope that means Q1. It's hard to say. But Amazon CEO Andy Jassy was essentially talking it up and saying it's going to come out at the beginning of the year. So in addition to all of that, they also have a model called Nova Canvas. This is their image generation model. And they have a video generation model called Nova Real. Both of those launched at AWS today. So this is actually really exciting and interesting. I'll be super curious because we have OpenAI that revealed, OpenAI's video generator Sora, way earlier in the year, and we have yet to see anything tangible that we could actually use, play with this thing. And so I would be blown away if you have a company like Amazon, who it seemed like was kind of behind in this game, jumping ahead and actually, putting out a video model before even OpenAI does, because OpenAI, I don't know, just took so long to test it or red team it or safety protocol it, whatever they're doing to take forever to make this video generation thing come out. So that's really interesting to me. What's really interesting is the different text models are essentially different based off of their capabilities and sizes. We see this for most of the big companies. You see OpenAI's got their mini models like GPT-4o, GPT-4o mini, which essentially has smaller models or faster models. You see the same thing with Anthropic with their Haiku and their Opus and their Sonnet, right? They have different models, different tiers that do different things. And even Google with their Google Gemini Pro and Gemini Lite. So this seems to be pretty much industry standard what they're doing here. 4 different models. I like that. Personally, OpenAI is kind of gangster with really 2 main models. I guess they have O1 Preview, so it's kind of 3, but it's kind of like its own different model. So I guess, yeah. Okay, you can say OpenAI's got 3 models. Google only has 2. They don't really have an answer to ChatGPT's O1 Preview or I guess Opus from Anthropic. But that is going to probably be more like what Premiere is coming from them, which we're not getting yet. So Pro is going to be good. Micro is, I guess, their smallest. It can only take in text and output text. That's all it can do. It's really, really fast, and it's able to essentially process text and give you the questions the quickest. Light, which is their next one, it can process image, videos, and text. And actually, that's pretty cool that it can do video. Not a lot of AI models, period, can do that. So even for their let's say they have 4 levels and their second level is already doing video, I'm impressed with that. It does it pretty quickly. Pro then has the best combination of accuracy, speed, and cost. So what's kind of cool about that is a lot of times with these models, it's not just about what it can do, but it's how much it costs. So you have, for example, ChatGPT's O1 Preview, which is wow, this thing's better. I was literally using it this morning, and it would annoy me when I had to go down to the GPT-4o because the responses just didn't feel as good. But what you have to know about O1 Preview is while it probably feels 20% better, maybe 25% better, it costs 5 times as much money. So if something costs you $1, it's going to cost you on GPT-4o, for example, which is great. It's going to cost you $6 on O1 Preview. So it is a lot more expensive, and you really have to balance that cost. It looks like what AWS is doing with their Pro model here is balancing that. And then we have Premiere, which again is not live, but it's apparently their most capable model. It's designed for really complex workloads. I'm assuming if it's anything like they say, it's going to be an O1 Preview competitor, which would be phenomenal. If, this is their first time really putting out these models, so you also could imagine that it's going to be more like GPT-4o, which I think would already honestly be amazing. Now, the tricky bit is this all just got announced today, so we haven't seen all of these models run through the benchmarks, run through the testing. Amazon, of course, is going to talk up their own book and say, these are amazing, they're the best in the world, they're great. But until we actually see these models run through benchmark testing against all of the other models, we're not really going to have an accurate assumption. So I'll definitely be making a follow-up video, probably in the next week, saying just how each of these stack up when you're comparing them on the benchmarks. So, but I mean, we got to break the news because this is really cool. All of these are available in AWS Bedrock right now, which is Amazon's AI development platform, where they can be fine-tuned and distilled for improved speed and lower cost, which is really, really cool because when you fine-tune a model, you definitely can save a ton of money. And that's fantastic. So this is what they said about it. The CEO said, we've optimized these models to work with proprietary systems and APIs. Okay, please, developers, let's hear it. Let's get a round of applause that this is an API, not just a random tool that consumers can use. And this is what AWS is all about, right? So that makes perfect sense. But APIs, so that you can do multiple orchestrated automatic steps, agent behavior, much more easily with these models. So I think they're very compelling. I think what's impressive to me here is, of course, Amazon has the distribution of AWS. Everyone's sites and software are running on AWS. And so they have a ton of people there. If they can just make some good models that are already built in, that's really easy to integrate, I think Amazon's going to be a big winner. What I think is impressive here is right in that quote that I was giving you, he was talking about the fact that these are essentially, they say they're optimized to do multiple orchestrated automatic steps and agent behavior. So they're really focusing on the next wave of AI, which is agents. That is exciting to me. All right, let's get into what I know everybody is wondering about, which is the video and image models. This is cool stuff, right? So Canvas and Reels, this is them really getting into generative AI. Canvas essentially lets you generate and edit images using prompts. So you can imagine something like some of the Adobe products where it's not just like, hey, generate this thing. It's like, okay, now change this, change that. Like you're actually editing the image with a prompt, which is kind of cool. There's a bunch of different controls for the edited images. You have color schemes, you have layouts. So there's some cool stuff there. I'm sure they'll be adding more in the future. Reel, which is their video one, is a little bit more ambitious of both of these, obviously, right? There's a tons of image models. We have very few actual video models, so it seems like they're doing something really impressive. This essentially creates videos that can be up to 6 seconds in length. So we're actually seeing longer videos from different models, but I mean, come on, they're beating OpenAI to this. I'm not going to give them any criticism on the 6 second length. They're doing this from a prompt. You can essentially adjust the camera motion to generate videos that pan. You can do a 360-degree rotation. You can do zoom. That is what's cool, is these models have to really understand physics to not just kind of like animate a picture and make it move, but you can actually do the camera motion effects. This is what makes these things really realistic. You tell it, okay, there's a woman walking along the beach with a red hat on. So sure, anyone could do that. But now it's like, and have the camera pan in, zoom, and follow her and move past her. Like those motions really make this thing, they're going to make a video look incredible. So Reel is currently limited to the 6 seconds. Yeah, I know that's annoying, but they did say that a version that could generate 2-minute long videos is coming soon. So the fact that that's on their roadmap and they're already talking about this in the big launch announcement is very exciting for me. I think at the end of the day, you need those 2-minute clips to really make videos that are consistent and yeah, I don't know. So I think that's phenomenal. I'm really excited about that. Of course, CEO Jesse really wanted to point out that both Canvas and Reels have built-in controls for responsibility. He said they're trying to limit the generation of harmful content. All of that's great. I'd be also curious to see if they're going to run into the same problem that like Google ran into when they tried to make everybody in a Google-generated image diverse, and then that led to them making black Nazis, which was very controversial for being historically inaccurate and all sorts of reasons people were offended. So I'd be curious to see what the issues they might run into there are. For vendors, I think a lot of them are really excited. So here's the big thing that a lot of people are concerned about. They're like, hey, like, what'd you train your data on, right? This is always the question with these AI and image models, AI or image and video models. And Amazon has been pretty tight-lipped about it. They haven't exactly said like what they use to train these models off of. And there's a couple reasons. Obviously, lawsuits, like if they went and just, let's say, grabbed a whole bunch of videos off of YouTube, they could get sued. So no one ever tells where they get their training data from. One thing that I will say that could be interesting about Amazon is, they said essentially that they used it from proprietary and licensed data sets. So, their own, and they went and got licenses. They didn't really elaborate. And like, you kind of have to take their word for it because it's hard to actually know. And it's a pretty tight-lipped secret. So the thing that you also have to think about, though, is that Amazon, for the last 2 years, has been doing something very, very interesting. The first one is they have a program called the Amazon Influencer Program. I've talked about this before on my podcast, AI Hustle, because my wife joined this program like a year ago, and they had this big incentive program. And essentially, you're just making videos. Like you just take out your phone and you just make a little video of some sort of object in your house, right? So if you have like some sort of houseplant, you take a video and you're like, I love this houseplant. It looks super realistic. It's super cute. It looks great for decor. And you kind of show it in your house. It's 10 to 30 seconds to 2-minute kind of videos. They're pretty short, right? You post those videos to Amazon. They get added to the product page for that product. And if anyone watches that video and buys it, you get like some sort of commission. So my wife did it. They have a bunch of incentive programs for making videos. We ended up making like $12,000 one month because they were paying like, I think like $25 per video we made. So just made like a ton of videos. So I think over the course of I guess I would say like the last maybe year that my wife has had that account, she's probably made 1,000, maybe 2,000 videos. They don't take very long, and she gets paid for, sometimes paid for each one. Anyways, the reason I bring this up, that is going to be, I guarantee you, the data set that Amazon is using for their videos, right? They literally have every product on the planet, almost, not really, but they then incentivize random people to make 2-minute videos of every single product on the planet. So they have millions and millions, hundreds of millions of videos for all of these products that they ran for that last year. And I guarantee in the terms of service, when you make those videos, they're going to say, hey, if you upload them to our platform, we can use them for training and blah, 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 blah. So that's the number one data set they think they use for videos without having to go to YouTube, like, is pretty smart. And they also had a lot of influencers just upload their YouTube videos directly there because they're like, you can monetize it. You can make a commission from it. And then it's genius because they don't have to go scrape YouTube if everyone's just uploading their stuff there. And those videos have like people talking with their faces. They have, point of view photos, videos of just stuff. So anyways, awesome data set. That's definitely where they grabbed the video. For the images, you can also imagine every single Amazon product listing has dozens of images, and there's millions of product listings. So they just grabbed all the product listing images, and I guarantee you they got tons of content there. So very smart on Amazon's part. And you got to imagine when a company is this big, right? They have the data sets for all of this data. They have the distribution with AWS, train a model. And I think this is going to be a home run for Amazon. I'd be very surprised if they weren't able to really crush it here. So what is next for Nova? What's Amazon doing next? Jassy, the CEO, Amazon's CEO, said that they are working on both a speech-to-speech model. So that's kind of cool, right? The talking model that you see from OpenAI that's been kind of popular. And then they said they'll also make a speech input and output, a transformed version of it. So you can talk and transform it. I'd be curious if they're talking about just like, I don't know, making your audio better, because they actually have a tool called Adobe Audio Enhancer, which I've been using literally for the last year. I upload podcasts to it. Sometimes if these mics are fantastic that I'm currently recording on it, but sometimes if I have like a mic and a cable's a little loose, there's a glitch, or I interview someone and their microphone wasn't very good, I throw it into Adobe Audio Enhancer and it sounds like I'm recording in a studio with a professional, Shure SM7B microphone like this one. So the reason I bring that up is because they already have that, and I'd be curious to see what they mean by their speech input and output version. I guess that one I was referencing is like usually just an audio file. So maybe they were doing one that's live, or maybe what I think would be cool is if it was singing. They could do a musical one, something like Suno AI. That'd be pretty cool. I mean, yeah, that'd be phenomenal. You see videos, or you see all these tools where they're like cloning your voice already to just, like HeyGen or whatever. It clones your voice, or 11 Labs, they clone your voice. It'd be pretty cool if it could clone your voice and then make you sing when everyone loved to be a famous singer. That'd be awesome. Any song you like, me personally, who's not an incredible singer, I would say, that'd be fun. I'd love to make it me singing songs. So that'd be cool. Anyways, the other thing they're doing is an any-to-any model. That's going to be around mid next year. So that's just pretty much what ChatGPT does, where you say anything, it knows that you're talking about video, image, text, audio, whatever. So that's going to be pretty cool. And of course, I say that, but OpenAI doesn't have that launched. It's what they're working on. They have that in some versions where they can do, the images and text and all that kind of stuff. So what he said is you'll be able to input text, speech, images, and video, and output text, speech, images, and video. This is the future of how frontier models are going to be built and consumed. All right. I am absolutely excited about this. I think this is going to be seriously game-changing. Like, Amazon has entered the chat, like, officially. I think the next big one that we're waiting for in tech is probably Apple, and maybe we have to wait another year and a half before we get anything serious out of them. So Amazon is honestly the best we're going to get for a while, and this is going to be exciting. This is going to put a serious competition for Microsoft, for Anthropic, for OpenAI, and my opinion is the more competition in the market, the better. Amazon has billions of dollars. AWS has billions of dollars and all the training stuff. And in addition, AWS just invested another $4 billion into Anthropic, this number 2 AI company essentially. And they said, look, we're going to give you the $4 billion. You have to train all of your AI models on Amazon silicone chips. Why that's important is because Anthropic said, no, we usually like using NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the best. And they're like, nope, you have to use us if we're going to give you the $4 billion. So NVIDIA said, okay, that's too much money to say no. But what that's going to force Anthropic to do is exactly what it forced OpenAI to do with Microsoft. Microsoft did the same deal with OpenAI like 2 years earlier. And it forced OpenAI to essentially work with the Microsoft Azure cloud team to make sure that all of their GPUs, all of their hardware, everything was set up to essentially optimize to train these AI models. Essentially what they got was, custom one-on-one work with, the top AI minds over OpenAI. They optimized, and now a lot of people are using Microsoft Azure for training AI models because they really cracked the code with OpenAI. Amazon's trying to do the exact same thing with AWS and Anthropic, and I think they're going to be successful doing that because it's a lot of money, and Anthropic is essentially going to give them all the data, all the tools, all the IP really to train. And I almost wonder if it's at some point going to be more valuable for them to have cracked that and have that integrated in AWS than anything they ever gave Anthropic. So really excited to see where this goes. Amazon has entered the chat and is also competing directly with Anthropic, who they've now given $8 billion to. Imagine giving $8 billion to a company and now saying, and we're also going to compete with you at the same time. It's exactly what Microsoft's doing, so it's no shocker. I'm really curious when Apple's jumping into this, how they're going to play. And Google, of course, is kind of already doing this as well. But I don't know. I have high hopes for Amazon, so we'll see how it goes. Anyways, if you enjoyed the episode today, if you learned anything, I would really appreciate a review. And also, as I mentioned, if you've ever wanted to start your own podcast, make sure to go and get my podcasting course. Link in the description. It's how I got my first 4 million downloads, how I grew my YouTube channel, everything that I did from planning to editing to getting amazing guests on the show. It is the beginning of December.
God on the name of God, on the name of God, on the name of God, on the name of God. Oh, Jesus Christ, the Son of God. On the name of God, on the name of God, on the name of God. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, died for us on the cross. God, 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 God. I'm into Mix Hector. YouTube channel, YouTube. Wow, 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 wow. Wow, 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 wee, wow, 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 wee. Whoa, okay. Goodbye. News report. Because. Love you.